Hello, I'm Jonasz Rawiński and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. As Germany is gearing up for elections taking place on the 23rd of February, an unusual situation has taken place, which left some commentators in Berlin in a state of shock and disbelief. Defying convention, US Vice President JD Vance has snubbed Olaf Scholz and instead spoke to one of the leaders of Germany's far-right opposition, the Alternative für Deutschland party, not to mention his scathing criticism of European democracies, which seemed aimed square at Berlin, among others. All this happened not long after Elon Musk, billionaire-turned-Trump's deregulation tsar, openly endorsed the AFD, calling it Germany's best hope. Is Trump's entourage trying to swing elections in Germany in a perilous direction? Joining us now is Przemysław Witkowski, professor at the Collegium Civitas. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So first of all, let's talk about the debate which took place on German television. Any surprises there when it comes to the showdown between the leaders of major parties?
In my opinion, the situation right now in Germany is in a kind of clinch. There is no potential coalition partner for AFD. And AFD is going to have like about 20, 21, maybe 22% in the elections, just like under poll, So technically, I think that but right now it won't change the government completely in Germany. We are in a situation in which no one going to enter the coalition with AFD. But still, there is a huge influence from the side of the United States and at the same time from Russia, because both states would prefer bilateral relation with separate states, not as European Union as a whole. But the general idea here is behind these all actions, especially right now American, but like for a long, long time also Russian, that the European Union as a whole is too strong as a, discussion partner, negotiation partner. And then we want to embrace different parties in different states, which we are like pointing out pointing out that there's a sovereignty factor, national interest factor, and all these activities are going to undermine the position of the whole European Union.
So would you say that this is one of the reasons, perhaps, why the current administration in the US seems to have a preference for the AFD? I mean, with Russia, it's quite obvious because the AFD has often spoken in favor of a rapprochement with Moscow, including rebuilding the Nord Stream pipeline. But with the US, it may seem a bit unusual. Would you say that perhaps this is the reason that they want the European Union to be more fragmented?
Yeah, if you look at a position in the States, it has been for a long time a gendarme for Europe, especially in the Cold War time against communism. They two times have intervened in Europe in the First World War and Second World War. Many Americans died, and in their position, their perspective is they did it not because for just democracy and freedom, blah blah blah, but also for American interest. And American interest is not to have such a strong partner in Europe. Europe should be a club of traders, merchants, let's call it like that, financiers, kind of protected by the American forces, which are kind of, let's say, in Mediterranean, Western Europe, everywhere, and not really too strong as a separate, global player. So here the idea was, okay, let's have this European Union. It's fine as long as they are producing culture, or buying our products, or we are buying some things from them. But as they try to build their own foreign policy, as they try to build their own, think about at least their own army, that's a threat for American domination here. And as for the Americans, right now, for the Trump administration, for sure, the most important field of political issues happening is East Asia, China, and a conflict with China, at least trade or financial conflict with China. Then Europe is some kind of second-class territory, not really so important. So as the European Union was trying to build its own geopolitical position, as I mentioned, like with trying to establish their own foreign policy or army, that became kind of dangerous, at least for the perspective of the Trump administration. So as Russia, as you mentioned, was doing that because they want to sell their own resources like gas, and they want to have an influence on the individual partners, not like a whole bloc. Then the United States, in a way, kind of agreed on that with Russia under Trump administration. They try to weaken the European position, and as you know, states are like a superpower, not only militarily but also economically. So their position in any kind of negotiation with any state in Europe is dominant. So the less European Union, the less European Federation, the less ideas even, the better for Trump administration.
Now, when it comes to the AFD itself, we've heard JD Vance suggesting that no firewalls should be imposed in politics, so directly instructing German politicians how to build coalitions, which of course was not received well in Berlin. But we've also had Elon Musk suggesting, the AFD, it's not so bad. Why do you think Elon Musk might be terribly wrong or misinformed on that particular issue?
I don't think that Elon Musk is misinformed or wrong in the sense that he represents, at least partly, American alt-right and like right wing of the Republican Party, and in their perspective, it is like not very profitable to have a strong European Union, and the core of the European Union is Germany. So the party which is embracing sovereignty, German interest against interest of the other neighbors, is kind of producing a situation of conflict in Europe. So from his perspective and from American perspective, everything which is weakening European Union, and AFD is for sure weakening European Union, is good. So in that sense, this administration in the United States is really shifting completely the earlier current of political approach by the United States. They no longer want to go the path that was established in the Cold War. They want to create a new situation. As they see there is a geopolitical shift globally, America is weakening, so they are trying to regroup their forces. And in practice, they don't want any European kind of competition. And as it was like at least understood that the Germany was one of at least 1, 2, 3 major engines of European Union, now the party which is saying, okay, we are Eurosceptic. We want more focus on Germany than any kind of European entity. That's kind of good for them if they want to weaken European Union and make it's like not a competitor but a very weak ally.
So would you say that this support for the far right, not just in Germany but in many European countries, is purely utilitarian in nature, that it does not result from some sort of affinity for common ideas, for example, skepticism towards migration, but more out of a desire of, as you're suggesting, create chaos agents within the European Union, and so perhaps weaken its geopolitical position vis-a-vis the current US administration?
Yeah, I would say that's true. I think there's a common interest in Russia and the United States to make European Union weaker. As they in 2 world wars, the First World War and the Second World War, Germany tried to become a global dominant superpower. It failed, and then was divided for many, many years between like communist part and the capitalist part. And then after unification, step by step, it became kind of an axis of European Union. So then there was kind of, again, fear, I think, especially in the States, that Germany, united, they may again, as a very strong economical, entity and like being placed in the center of Europe, become once again, a crucial state for another project of trying to enter the global league. Of course, now in more kind of federation fantasy of European Union. So, in my opinion, personally, of course, they do like each other because it's kind of being against migration, being against minority rights, against feminism, against LGBTs. So that's probably something which unites them. It's much easier for them to establish some kind of alliance here. But also, I would think that there is an important factor which for the United States is weakening European Union, making it like a very, very weak ally, still not any kind of independent player.
But the problem right now is that the popularity of parties like the AFD is not growing in vacuum. We've recently had, once again, terrorist incidents, which of course had an extremist Islamic background. So this is actually something that the AFD embraces, because they are able to point towards these incidents and say, we have a major problem with migration, we have a major problem with radical Islam, and we are the only ones that can do something about it. How do you think this is going to feed into their narrative, like the recent events and the general situation with migration, which of course it's a difficult issue. It's just that extreme parties like the AFD are able to build their own narrative upon that and basically create a situation whereby they might be seen by some people as being the solution to the problem.
Yeah, there is a lot of problems kind of migration, but like if you look at the global situation right now, you got a climate change, especially in the states which are placed in like more near to equator. You got all around European Union in many places political instability, even wars like Libya, like Ethiopia, like Yemen, like Palestine, Israel, like Syria. So we got a lot of migrants wanting to enter this zone of wealth and prosperity, which European Union is. And you also have a lot of cuts, especially in Western Europe, like on programs of kind of inclusion. And also there was like a lot of incidents, different kind of incidents, which has been described like really accidental, but you have some problems in some districts, in some places, with great tension between newcomers and people already living in that place. So technically speaking, there is a problem because of many, many reasons. And, the far-right parties have been addressing that as one of the first and talking about that a lot. So they are understood and perceived as kind of natural, representatives of this. We want a solution to this problem. Maybe the other mainstream parties would not address that as well as them, but like their solution by expelling people or not allowing them to enter, and it's mainly based because on from the place where they are from, not exactly of any kind of personal traits of this exact person. Is not the solution at all, especially as European Union and Europe generally is getting older and older because people are having less children. European Union needs younger people coming from different parts of the world and building our economy. So maybe here the kind of building the programs for the kind of more reasonable, not chaotic kind of migration, that's something which can be done. But for sure they are perceived as a first parties which address the problem, and that's really helping them to become, the voice of a dissent against migration. But I would say that here the problem of migration is not with the migration, but more with reasonable programs of migration and programs of inclusion, and that's we are lacking, especially, for example, in Poland. So we're trying, of course, but like maybe everywhere, not maybe in Poland exactly, but like everywhere there is a lack in kind of reasonable choice who should enter and on which kind of conditions, and the kind of reasonable programs of inclusion. So in my opinion, right now, the answer is not allow anyone to enter because of the demographics, but how, in which way, what kind of people, in what kind of conditions.
Przemysław Witkowski was our guest today here on TVP World. Professor, thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news and updates.